Hey, my name is Jess Sallay-Carrington.
Hello, Jess. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Vancouver, BC, and I moved to Montreal in 2011 to attend undergrad at Concordia University.
So, what were you studying there?
Ceramics. And after I graduated in 2014, I loved the city so much I stayed. So now I'm in Montreal.
So, why ceramics?
I started working with it at a young age, and the malleability of it, you can turn it into any texture, pattern, shape, form, and just like fully change its shape. And I just love the flexibility of the material.
And I understand that you are now doing an MFA?
Yeah, I'm at University of Washington. I'm halfway through a master's program, and so currently I'm in Seattle, Washington.
And are you again studying ceramics?
Yeah, ceramics, and I'm playing around with some other materials. It's a more general program, so I'm doing metal, wood, and glass, but mostly ceramic figures is my focus.
Do you hope to integrate all of these together with ceramics?
Yeah, I want to use little elements of other materials in my sculptures a bit more, I think, to give them a bit more life and complexity. Like I think I learned how to do glass, I think it's called torch work, and I just made little glass horns for one of my pieces, and I just had so much fun with it.
We are standing in the gallery of the Adapting exhibition, which is at the Maison de la Culture, Cote Neiges gallery in Montreal, and it's on until August 27th. So why don't we talk about that a little bit? What is the story behind this exhibition?
So all of these pieces were made during the COVID-19 pandemic while I was living in Montreal, and all the pieces are inspired by watching people adapt to the changes of the pandemic, just how society itself changed, people's interactions changed, even within their homes and outside of it. It felt like it kind of affected all these weird little details of our lives that we maybe didn't expect. And the fact that we didn't have a lot of answers for a lot of it, it just kind of kept going, and so all the uncertainty, it just affected people in a whole lot of ways, and I just found it really fascinating watching how people adapted to it, what they did to take care of themselves and how they changed their lives to just live with the uncertainty of the pandemic at the time. So all these sculptures are made from 2020 to 2021.
And you obviously like to use anthropomorphic imagery. So you've integrated animals and people together, and how do you feel that this really sort of like tells your story?
Yeah, I really like to use animals as a way to dive deeper into human psyche. It kind of displays the hidden parts of ourselves, like using the biological or behavioral or anything components of a certain animal to reference those features in a person. It's kind of like showing the things that are hidden in ourselves. Like if you look at someone, you maybe wouldn't know that they're necessarily a really like quiet and timid person. I mean, maybe you would, but I would use them as like a rabbit or something like that.
So you have one little series, the Couch Bear series, in this show, and they are adorable, but also kind of disturbing because they're kind of laid back in a not really happy way. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, so that series I had a lot of fun with. It's probably one of my very few pieces that are more comical than everything else. So in 2017, I did this big trip around Europe, and I spent a few weeks at a bear refuge. And so watching all of these bears adapt to a much smaller enclosure, like they were all outside in these big fenced-in areas, but us as volunteers, it was our job to feed them, to build them entertainment things, and we would forage food for them and then throw it into the enclosures. And so I just watched these wild animals really adapt to living in a much smaller environment where they relied on people bringing them food and forms of entertainment and everything like that. And the pandemic reminded me of those bears as we became those bears. Like the food delivery people became our caretakers, and the like really intense police presence for a while became the like, I don't know, zoo security guards or something. I just saw so many parallels between that experience with the bears and us, and then having these bears, they were just so much more lazy than I imagined they normally would be if they had such a vast, expansive landscape to walk around. They just had this little enclosure, and so watching these big lazy bears laze around for a while, like, ah yes, I relate to that, especially in the pandemic.
Was there anything else in the exhibit that you feel really epitomized your experience of the pandemic?
Yeah, actually, the piece Calluses. Through the pandemic, I realized my relationship to touch had changed a lot. I became so nervous touching things out in the public, and I didn't shake any friends' hands or give them a hug for a while. Everything was elbow bumps and hand sanitizer. So I just realized I'm such a tactile person with, getting my hands in clay all the time, but then becoming very afraid to touch everything out in the outside world, and just really interesting seeing how people figured that out, and even, watching people's interactions and lack of physical touch for a while. I mean, the amount of family members that none of us saw in person for a while, but we just saw over a phone screen or something, and who we craved to touch and who we maybe kind of gave up wanting to be able to touch because we just couldn't. Yeah, I just found it was a really fascinating time and very sad, but and frustrating. A whole lot of feelings. But yeah, that was a big thing for me, was touch and the lack of it.
You are in the process of doing a call for an exhibition for NCCA, which is the National Clay Exhibition in the US.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell a little bit about that? Because I think that is very dear to your heart, because it's about queer and non-binary and biopic. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm organizing a proposal for the NCCA 2023 conference, and it's going to be an exhibition of queer ceramic artists from around North America. And so I just finished doing the calls for submissions, so I'm now picking the artists who are going to be in it. And I'm really excited to be able to attempt and bring together this diverse representation of queer identities from around North America. And it's also just all of us to be able to come together and share clay and how we use that to talk about queerness, queer identities, and queer is so much more than a sexuality also. It's just the way of living and being and challenging the heteronormative or cisgendered norms in society. And so I'm very excited about that exhibition, and it's almost coming together.
So Jess, if somebody wants to purchase a piece of your work from this exhibition or future works, how do they do this?
Everything will be on my website. JessicaSCreatures.com is my website, and currently it's mostly just pottery on there, but I'll be uploading all the works onto my website, and those can be purchased through that.
Great. And can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, my Instagram is jessica.s.creatures, and that's a good way to follow me and to see what I'm doing, and as new stuff comes up, I'm pretty good about posting.
People need to come and see this exhibition in person to really enjoy the quality and the intimacy of the experience of your work. Adapting is on at the Maison de la Culture Cote Neiges Gallery until August 27th, 2022. See you there.
Yeah, thank you.